evening and welcome to NTD News. I'm Stephania Cox. Here are today's top stories. Ahmaud Arbery's mother says her son can now rest in peace. That's after the jury reached its verdict, convicting 3 men, all part of a chase turned deadly. A victory for South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem and bad news for marijuana advocates. The South Dakota Supreme Court is ruling against legalizing recreational marijuana. Is releasing oil from the strategic reserve going to lower soaring gas prices? An energy expert tells NTD what effects he thinks it will have and how we got here in the first place. The CEO of JPMorgan cracks a joke, saying the bank will last longer than the Chinese Communist Party. But later, he says he regrets his words. It's Thanksgiving tomorrow, and participants in the Macy's parade have been preparing, making sure their routines are all in sync for the holiday event. Today, the jury for the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial delivered its verdict. This marks the end of a murder case that surfaced shortly after the start of the pandemic. NTD's Miguel Moreno has the update.
Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty.
Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan were convicted of murdering Ahmaud Arbery in 2020. All defendants faced the same 9 charges, which included multiple felony murder charges. Only Travis was convicted of all 9. Ashley Merchant, a Georgia attorney with 20 years of experience, tells me the sentence is what matters.
So Travis McMichael was convicted of malice murder. No one else was. Why do you think that is, and what is malice murder?
So I think he is convicted of that because he's the one that actually fired the weapon. And so what the state has to prove for a malice murder conviction is that there was some intent, so that he actually meant to kill Mr. Arbery. So that's what the jury had to find there. The other 2 co-defendants, because they didn't have any intent to kill, I think it's the right verdict for them not to be found guilty of malice murder. But practically speaking, it doesn't really matter. And what I mean by that is the sentence is what matters. And malice murder and felony murder in Georgia carry the exact same sentence. So there's absolutely no difference whatsoever with the sentence or parole or anything like that.
This means they face either life without parole or a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Arbery's mother, after hearing the verdict she hoped for, delivered a few words about God and her son.
To tell you the truth, I never saw this day back in 2020. I never thought this day would come. But God is good.
Yes, He is.
And I just want to tell everybody, thank you. And now Quez, which you know him as Ahmaud, I know him as Quez.
Yes.
He will now rest in peace.
Amen.
Thank you.
The McMichael attorneys apologized on behalf of their clients.
I've looked into their hearts. I've looked into their souls. I've had very deep conversations with them that stem back to their childhood and their upbringing. And I can tell you, honestly, these men are sorry for what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. They are sorry that he is dead. They are sorry for the tragedy that happened because of the choices that they made to go out there and try to stop him.
Attorney Merchant told me the judge will next pronounce sentences for each defendant, but it's unclear when that'll happen. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
President Biden is trying to mitigate rising gas prices by releasing oil from the strategic reserve. How's that going to impact the market? NTD's Paul Graney interviewed the CEO of the Domestic Energy Producers Alliance to get a better understanding of the problem with oil production and high gas prices.
President Biden announced he's releasing 50 million barrels of oil from the nation's Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Jerry Simmons, the president and CEO of the Domestic Energy Producers Alliance, tells NTD that that's only equal to 3 days of consumption in the U.S.
That's 3 days supply for this country. So for anyone to think that's going to be a short-term fix for the price, I don't know what they're drinking, but it's not the coffee that I had this morning, because it just won't impact anything. It can't.
Simmons says the U.S. became energy self-sufficient in early 2020. Compared to then, the country is producing 2 million barrels less per day. What does Biden have to do with the decline?
When President Biden got elected, he said, I'm going to do away with fossil fuels. That's part of his party platform. And so that then started drying up some of the financing behind it. So there's fewer companies available now because, like I said, there were bankruptcies throughout 2020. Early in 21, there were further bankruptcies. And so companies just went away. And the financial sector is very reluctant to invest in a business that the federal government says they want to go away.
The CEO predicts higher energy prices in the future. He points to figures by the Energy Information Administration, a federal government statistics agency. The agency projects that 70 to 75% of the world's energy consumption will still come from coal, oil, and natural gas 20 and 30 years from now.
In 20, 30 years, we're still going to be very, very reliant on coal, oil, and natural gas. It's just, are the prices going to be much higher because of lack of investment dollars and a shrinking supply? Not because there's not supply there, but because we can't get to it.
In regards to infrastructure, Simmons says pipelines are actually the safest way to move products compared to trains and trucks, and that when the government shuts down pipelines, the product will still have to be transported by trains and trucks, which are much more susceptible to accidents and problems than pipelines.
And Democratic Senator Joe Manchin calls Biden's short-term fix an important policy band-aid for rising gas prices, but he wants Biden to do more. He's renewing his calls for Biden to restart the Keystone XL pipeline. The West Virginia senator, who also chairs the Senate's Energy and Natural Resources Committee, released a statement after Biden's announcement. He warns that Washington cannot jeopardize America's energy security. Manchin says Biden should, quote, responsibly increase energy production at home. Specifically, he wants to revive the Keystone XL pipeline, which the senator says would have provided close to 1 million barrels of oil per day. Manchin's stance on energy is crucial, considering many of Biden's clean energy proposals are in the Build Back Better bill, which the Senate will take up in a few weeks. If Manchin disagrees on just one piece of the proposal, it could mean it's tossed out. And today, the Biden administration moving ahead with its clean energy reform, approving an offshore wind farm off the coasts of Rhode Island and New York. The plan is to deploy around 30 gigawatts of wind energy by 2030. And this is just the start. The administration expects to review at least 16 operations plans to build more offshore wind energy facilities by 2025. And in a major outlier to recent weekly jobless claims, last week's report, adjusted for seasonal swings, totaled 199,000. That's its lowest level in 52 years. Some economists say layoffs are hitting new lows as employers take measures to attract and hold on to workers. Overall, nearly 2.5 million people received government benefits under various programs in the week ending November 6th. That's down from 3.2 million the previous week. Despite the sharp drop in jobless filings, businesses continue to report hiring difficulties, and the labor force participation rate is still below pre-pandemic levels. And recreational marijuana won't be legalized in South Dakota, despite residents voting in favor of it in a ballot measure. The state Supreme Court is ruling against the legalization in a lawsuit filed on behalf of Governor Kristi Noem. NTD's Allison Lee has more.
The South Dakota Supreme Court on Wednesday upheld a lower court's decision to nullify a state constitutional amendment that would have legalized recreational marijuana. South Dakota voters approved the amendment by 54% in last year's general election. The same measure would have also required state lawmakers to legalize medical marijuana and the sale of hemp. In a 4-1 decision, the court ruled that the amendment would have violated the state's requirement that constitutional amendments deal with just one subject. Chief Justice Stephen Jensen wrote, "It's clear that Amendment A contains provisions embracing at least 3 separate subjects, each with distinct objects or purposes." Governor Kristi Noem is against legalizing recreational marijuana, and she launched a legal fight against it. She praised the court's decision, writing that South Dakota is a place where the rule of law and our Constitution matter, and that's what today's decision is about. We do things right, and how we do things matters just as much as what we are doing. Matthew Schweik, the campaign director of South Dakotans for Better Marijuana Laws, calls the ruling extremely flawed. He said in a statement, the court has rejected common sense and instead used a far-fetched legal theory to overturn a law passed by over 225,000 South Dakota voters based on no logical or evidentiary support. Allison Lee, NTD News.
Millions of Americans are traveling to visit their families over the Thanksgiving weekend. The TSA is expecting to screen about 20 million air passengers during this travel period. That's the most since 2019. And Auto Club AAA estimates that in all, over 53 million people will travel for the Thanksgiving holiday. That's a 13% rise over last year. The group attributes the increase to new health and safety guidelines and the reopening of U.S. borders. AAA officials say despite near record high gas prices, people are eager to see family and friends after skipping travel last year. And millions of Americans are hitting the skies this week. But as we become airborne again, it's worth asking, how secure are airports? NTD's Iris Tao has more.
Americans are back in the skies as Thanksgiving hits and air travel bumps back to pre-pandemic levels. Also back are safety issues when it comes to flying.
I can sincerely say it's much better than it was prior to 9/11. That said, it will never be 100%.
Jeff Price, a world expert on aviation security, talks to The Nation Speaks about how airport security has evolved 20 years after 9/11.
So it virtually everything has changed.
Screening checkpoints, for instance, are now equipped with advanced technology such as facial recognition and CT scanners. And today, there are thousands of air marshals, of which there were only about 30 on 9/11. But despite better security, new threats have emerged.
The cybersecurity threat is real. We're behind the curve on it. We need to do everything we can to keep up with it.
The TSA recently announced that it will require airports to include a cyber coordinator as part of their security staffing.
The worst case scenarios in cyber is being able to hack into airport security systems, or even worse than that, the air traffic control system.
And that, Price says, could feed false information to air traffic control centers or even directly to aircrafts, which can result in a major incident. Even in a less serious case, minor cyber attacks can jam up the aviation system and cause millions of dollars in damage. Furthermore,
it's not just about the money. There's somebody sitting on a flight that's trying to go see a loved one that they might only see one more time in their life.
And there's another area that Price calls for attention.
Our entire regulatory structure is focused on protecting aircraft. There's very little that's given thought to protecting the airport.
Public area security involves places such as airports, checkpoints, and ticket counters, which Price says can be easily targeted by anyone. In fact, just last week, a passenger fired a gunshot at an Atlanta airport and caused chaos. The man is currently still at large. Drones can be another new challenge, especially if someone flies them at aircraft or at lower altitudes.
And even without an explosive device, those drones carry lithium batteries and could potentially start a fire when they strike an aircraft.
Iris Tao, NTD News.
Watch the full interview on The Nation Speaks with Cindy Drucker this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And shares of Nordstrom and Gap sank today. Nordstrom down nearly 30% and Gap down 24%. It's after their quarterly earnings got slammed by supply chain issues. It could be a chance for better prepared rivals to grab more market share. NTD's Faye Quarter has more.
Nordstrom shares have taken a huge nosedive after missing estimates Tuesday. The company posted a quarterly profit of $64 million, or 39 cents per share, missing estimates of 56 cents. Nordstrom president and chief brand officer Peter Nordstrom says they failed to land as much product as they needed in some main categories and missed an opportunity to capture incremental sales as a result.
We experienced inventory shortages in the quarter, especially in certain core categories such as women's apparel and shoes, where demand came back stronger and faster than we expected.
Gap faces the same problem. Its shares were down over 20% Wednesday. It flagged up to $650 million in lost sales and cut its annual forecast. Factory closures in Vietnam led to shipping delays at Gap. That boosted costs because it had to spend nearly $500 million to air freight goods to meet strong demand.
While we had planned into the known supply chain constraints as we entered the quarter, including COVID-related closures in Vietnam, the shock to our business persisted longer than anticipated.
In contrast, other retailers, including American Eagle Outfitters, Macy's, and Target, have chartered container ships. They also used air freight or ordered in advance to overcome supply chain bottlenecks to stock their shelves for the holidays. Some small businesses are also overcoming supply chain issues.
We're doing very well this season.
Suzanne McBail is the CEO of boutique lingerie company Love Suze. She shares her secret strategy, running 2 seasons at once to get holiday production in advance.
That way, if we run into production delays with the factories or fabrics or anything, our brand is not affected because I've already received my inventory for fall in summer.
McBail's advice to other retailers: work ahead of time and get ahead of the supply chain crunch. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
The CEO of JPMorgan cracked a joke about the Chinese Communist Party, but the fallout soon led him to issue an apology. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more.
A joke went wrong. How long will the Chinese Communist Party last with all the crisis and tensions? JPMorgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon quipped that it likely wouldn't outlive his bank.
I made a joke the other day that I was just in Hong Kong, that I made a joke that the Communist Party is celebrating its 100th year. So is JPMorgan. And I'll make you bet we last longer. I can't say that in China. They probably are listening anyway.
Dimon made the claim on Tuesday in a college panel discussion about the bank's China business. JPMorgan has been operating in China since 1921, the same year the Communist Party was founded there. This year, both JPMorgan and the CCP are celebrating their 100th anniversary. But will China see the funny side? Probably not. On Wednesday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned the comment, saying, "Is it really necessary?" And Dimon backtracked. In a statement from the bank the same day, he said he regretted his remark. How did Dimon view China in the past? He once said, "China is one of the world's biggest opportunities." JPMorgan's China business is valued at nearly $20 billion. This is only a tiny part of the bank's balance sheet of nearly $3.8 trillion. But the bank is planning to expand further in China. Earlier this year, JPMorgan became the first foreign investment bank to fully own a security venture. Before that, all foreign financial institutions were required to have a Chinese partner. JPMorgan is known to have close ties with the ruling party in China, especially through its Sons and Daughters program. Between 2006 and 2013, JPMorgan hired about 100 interns and full-time employees with special backgrounds. Most of them were sons and daughters of Chinese high-level officials. Most of them were unqualified, but it was an important part of the bank's efforts to build relationships in China and win lucrative business. U.S. authorities described the program as corruption, plain and simple, and said it was corruptly influencing government officials. In 2016, JPMorgan got a $264 million fine. Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi has vetoed a Chinese company's takeover attempt in the country. This is the third time since his government took office in February. That's according to a Hong Kong filing by the rebuffed group, Zhejiang Jingshen Mechanical. The government was concerned a takeover of Applied Materials screen printing equipment business in Italy could have had consequences in the semiconductor sector. Italy reserves the right to use anti-takeover legislation to ward off undesired bids in industries deemed of strategic importance. Rome has stopped foreign interests in Italy 5 times since 2012, when its laws gave its government the power to do so. 4 of those episodes turned away Chinese bids.
And as tensions heat up in the race for breakthrough technology, microchip makers Samsung and Texas Instruments are planning on building semiconductor plants in the same state. NTD's Arlene Richards has more.
Samsung has chosen Taylor, Texas as the site of its new state-of-the-art semiconductor chip fabrication plant.
And tech company Texas Instruments has also chosen to invest in Texas, with plans to build as many as 4 new plants. Samsung's plant will have an initial investment of $17 billion and could create over 2,000 jobs. Texas Instruments plants are projected to cost $30 billion and could create as many as 3,000 jobs.
In the year 2021, global semiconductor industry CapEx on plants was $150 billion. That represented a 33% increase over the year prior and double the amount of annual CapEx in the industry from 5 years ago. Global semiconductor demand is expected to increase by 58% over the course of this decade. So that means there's great demand for a large number of new plants to be built around the world.
Stephen Ezell is the Vice President of Global Innovation Policy at the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation. Ezell also says the investments will help the U.S. compete against China.
There are really 3 facets of semiconductor production, including the R&D and the design phase, fabless companies that design chips be manufactured elsewhere. There's the fabrication, the production part of the process, and then there's the assembly, test, and packaging on the back end. And certainly across these phases, the United States leads.
During Governor Greg Abbott's announcement Tuesday of Samsung's plans, he touted the economic environment Texas built.
It's a model built on low taxes, reasonable regulations, robust infrastructure, world-class universities, and the best workforce in America.
Abbott said Samsung had many other options, and he's glad it chose Texas. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Up next, are you feeling the festive spirit already? Are people around you more grateful and happier? Well, one expert tells us gratitude and happiness might be connected. And the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will be marching through New York City tomorrow. Parade participants have been preparing, and it will be open to the public for the first time since the start of the pandemic. That and more here on NTD News. Thanksgiving is coming up, and maybe you're already trying to show more gratitude to the people around you. NTD spoke with a woman who teaches the importance of being a good person and being thankful. She has some advice to share ahead of Thanksgiving.
Thankfulness. Not only does it make people around you happy, but also yourself. That's what Elaine Park says.
When you're feeling grateful, it's the best way to be healthy.
She says thankfulness isn't limited to verbal expressions. You can, for example, bring someone a coffee or fill up the paper tray in the office printer as a way to show the people around you that you appreciate them and what they do. Elaine also has advice for a serene Thanksgiving with your family. Don't bring up negative topics at the dinner table. She says that starts with consuming positive content.
Watch programs that are happy and uplifting and about good people. When you're at the dinner table at Thanksgiving, listen to each other, talk to each other. Many families are together for the first time in a long time. So why bring in a negative outside topic?
Elaine practices gratefulness outside the holiday season, too. She has a 12-step plan, one for every month of the year, which aims to teach school children how to become better people. She says being a good person is a requirement for happiness.
Happy people don't cheat. Happy people don't lie. You can't be a bad person and be happy. It's impossible.
She added that for this year's Thanksgiving, we can try to keep our minds and hearts around the table and appreciate what we have.
And as people across the nation gather around the Thanksgiving dinner table, everyone can reflect on what they're grateful for. NTD's Cynthia Kai asked locals in California to share what they'll be feeling thankful for this holiday season.
Thanksgiving is a day traditionally meant for celebrating the harvest and blessings of the past year. As we count our blessings, some Californians shared what they are most thankful for this year.
I'm thankful for a good life in general, good kids, good family, and good job.
So I'm so grateful. I'm right here in front of Costco buying food, and it just feels everything that I buy that I, just thank God for, to be able to, go to family and have this get together and feast, which a lot of people are not able to.
Many people say they are grateful for their families.
I think I'm actually most thankful for family, obviously. It's been really tough in the last year or so with the pandemic, getting together with family or just having normal family gatherings. So I'm thankful that everybody's healthy. We're all starting to get together again, seeing family, and, the health of my daughter, my wife, it's very important.
My mom. I still have my mom, and she's doing okay. None of my family got really sick.
I'm thankful as well that we can all get together and that the kids can go back to school, and that's been very good. I'm very thankful for that.
Some shared some of their family traditions.
Our yay sets up this entire table with candy everywhere, so I kind of look forward to eating all the candy off the table. I really like how we all gather around, and we usually sometimes will just talk about how we feel, and we usually have turkey and some jellies.
Cranberry.
Cranberry jelly.
My parents and I, we usually go to this one place, and it's kind of like a beach in the San Francisco area, and spend a day there, picnic.
Just as our Bay Area local said, there's much to be thankful for this holiday season. From our whole California team, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Cynthia Kai, NTD News.
And Thanksgiving wouldn't be the same without the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Members of the parade have been prepping for tomorrow's big event. NTD's Jason Perry has that story.
Last night, different performers in the 95th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade practiced their routines in preparation of the traditional holiday event. Musicians performed with band members playing air guitars and air keyboards as their sound levels were checked. The can-can dancers also had their turn for rehearsal in front of the Macy's flagship store on 34th Street in Manhattan. And the jump ropers made sure each of their jumps and turns were all in sync. And today, the preparation continues with what's called Inflation Day. It's the day where the giant balloons are lined up in show order and inflated with helium.
The parade as a whole is a year-long process. It's an ongoing sort of creative evolving process from all of our new ideas, our new balloon development, to our logistics and getting our parade situated, sorted. It's a year-long process. Today we've been out here since about 7 a.m. inflating our balloons, and we'll go through the day and get prepped for tomorrow morning.
Bystanders had a hard time trying to decide who's their favorite character flying in the sky.
Maybe the Baby Yoda, because we just watched Star Wars, and it was really good, and yeah.
Tomorrow's parade will have 15 giant character balloons, 28 floats, 10 marching bands, and over 800 clowns. Police are also stepping up their presence and will have over 1,000 officers assigned along the police route, and all vehicle entrances will be blocked off. Tomorrow's parade is set to kick off here tomorrow in New York City at 9 a.m. Jason Perry, NTD News, New York.
Coming up, a California school board is suing the governor for prolonging the state of emergency. They're seeking a quick trial. Families will be looking for their own Christmas trees to decorate this year. One owner of a Christmas tree ranch tells us more right here on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. They're not out to tell you the truth of what's happening. They're out to tell you the picture of the world that they represent. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in facts, and prevent people from being misled. This is a battle between truth and deceit. Subscribe today and join the Americans who are seeking truth and tradition. We'd love to have you on board.
Various counties in California continue to update their indoor face mask policies. Many are easing their policies for certain settings, but one county is requiring its residents to mask up, even at home.
California's Santa Cruz County recently reinstated its mask mandate for public and private settings. Based on the new mandate, private settings will now also include people's homes. People from different households are asked to mask up regardless of vaccination status. However, the county did not specify how it would reinforce masking inside private homes. The county health officials said the mask requirement will remain in effect indefinitely until it is amended, rescinded, or superseded. This decision comes as the county cites an increase in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in recent weeks. Meanwhile, Santa Cruz County's neighboring Monterey County lifted its indoor mask mandate last Tuesday.
California's governor is facing another lawsuit. This time, a Board of Education in Southern California is suing Newsom for the endless state of emergency. Here's NTD's Eileen Ang with more details.
The Orange County Board of Education, Children's Health Defense, and Children's Health Defense California chapter are collectively suing California Governor Gavin Newsom for what they are calling an endless state of emergency. They argue that his own statements prove his emergency powers are no longer justified.
Here, Governor Newsom has made numerous statements about the status of our state and the status of the COVID-19 danger here in the state of California. And he has very clearly articulated that the conditions have greatly become much better.
Newsom gave signs of improvement on Monday.
We saw a few weeks ago some troubling signs with case rates going up, positivity rates going up, hospitalizations and ICUs going up. That said, in the last 10 or 11 days, we've seen some stability, some good signs. That is good news. In fact, today, we lay claim to having the lowest positivity rate in the United States of America, 1.9%.
Under the law, a state of emergency should end at the earliest possible date that conditions warrant. Newsom extended the state of emergency until March 31st, 2022.
When you look at the state statute, the state requires imminent peril to the health and safety of the citizens here. How can the governor have any idea whether there is going to be imminent peril 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, or 3 months from now?
The plaintiffs argue the governor rules by fiat without giving people an opportunity to give opinions to balance out. They will be asking the court for an expedited trial. The governor's office has not responded to requests for comment. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
Some get them early and some get them late. Christmas trees are a hot topic this holiday as supply is lower than usual and prices have gone up. NTD's Phil Zoe has more from a Christmas tree market in New York.
Right in the heart of Manhattan, in front of Chelsea Market, a Christmas tree supplier is setting up shop.
Kind of imperative that people get their trees now. It's a good idea.
I spoke to Bradley from AA Christmas Trees. He says prices have gone up 20 to 30%.
People are seeing higher prices, and there is a shorter supply. Come sooner, order earlier online or in person, because we can't really guarantee total replenishment of stock the closer we get to Christmas.
The American Christmas Tree Association says problems like not having enough workers and transportation issues are causing delays everywhere.
Supplies are limited across the country. Suppliers up and down the East Coast and in Canada are all kind of in the same situation.
At this Christmas tree shop, they only sell the popular Fraser fir Christmas trees, from your little guys to the giant 10-footers.
They're used to a slightly warmer temperature, and we know New York City apartments get really hot in the wintertime.
Costs range from $65 to around $500. No time to waste. I decided to cut and prepare my own tree. Let's take it out, spin it. All right. I just got my Christmas tree. Don't delay. This shop is open 24 hours a day, all the way until Christmas Day. Phil Zoe, NTD News, New York.
And whether it's on the East Coast or the West Coast, families will be looking for their own Christmas tree to decorate this year. NTD's David Lamb went to talk with the owner of a Christmas tree ranch and hear about the economy of the trees this year.
Ed Battaglia and his brother have been in the Christmas tree business for 53 years now, since they were teenagers. He says business is tougher this year for several reasons.
The costs are up this year, the price of gasoline and diesel. These poor truckers only get about 5 miles to the gallon hauling these big rigs, so their fuel prices are up, and everything is expensive here in California.
Battaglia says their business was doing great last year, but he said this year is up in the air as people are traveling. He added there's a tree shortage.
The fires burned some plantations. The drought has affected a lot of the seedlings. The seedlings died. They didn't have water to survive.
His trees come from his ranch in Northern California, as well as from parts of Oregon. Battaglia said his favorite part of what he does is bringing Christmas to the homes of families.
And it's just kind of a tradition through the years. As growing up as a kid, you know, my family, we always used to go to the mountains actually and cut them out of the Santa Cruz Mountains. So
Eric says he always gotten a real tree, and his family loves the scent of pine it leaves in the house.
Well, you can see it has almost a perfect shape. It's pretty symmetrical. It has a nice taper right to the top, a good spot for the tree topper, and the trunk's good on it that'll fit in our stand perfectly. So we're pretty happy with it.
When shopping for Christmas trees, there's so many to choose from. Like here at this Christmas tree farm, there's at least 7 different types, such as Doug, Noble, Grand, and Pine. And for this 7 to 8 footer, it's $99.95.
Ours was a little bit more expensive last year. Yeah, I think it was like maybe $300 or something. Some of them can go up to like $500 here, the tall ones, yeah.
But we like fuller trees, and we wanted to get a big one this year so that the Wells could help us decorate, and we're going to have our family come over to help us hang ornaments as well. So we just liked it. We were drawn to it right away.
This family of 4 was the first customer of the day, and they come every year.
The smell. You can't replace the smell of a real Christmas tree.
Smells like Christmas.
Yeah.
Though the Christmas tree supply has some difficulties this year, Battaglia will continue spreading the holiday feeling. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Coming up, China has released a flurry of proof-of-life videos amid global outcry for China's Me Too tennis star. But the videos only raise more questions. And NASA launches a spacecraft to bump into an asteroid's moon. Scientists hope they can learn how to change a moon's orbit and prevent any future doomsday collisions with Earth. That and more here on NTD News. Beijing's cover-up of a domestic scandal is backfiring. The international community is in uproar after a Chinese tennis star disappeared. She had just accused a senior Chinese official of sexual assault when she went missing. And now a former U.S. senator and a women's legislative caucus is weighing in.
China's communist regime is known for handling controversy quietly, but this time it could be losing control. That's after Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai publicly accused a top Chinese official of sexual assault earlier this month. She disappeared from the public eye soon after.
It's especially troubling and I think very frightening when the charge is leveled against a top Chinese official, a top government official, it becomes very difficult. I mean,
Romero is a former senator and author of a recently released book, Just Not That Likeable, The Price Women Pay for Gender Bias. Posting the allegation on a Chinese social media platform, Peng accused Zhang Gaoli and his wife of forcing her to sleep with him. But her initial post was quickly removed. Zhang once served as a vice premier for China's communist ruling body. The accusation is unprecedented in the history of communist China.
I give, first of all, a great deal of credit to her for having had the courage in the first place to level the charge.
About 2 weeks later, the women's tennis organization said in a statement it was unable to reach Peng after multiple attempts. And 3 days later, a Chinese state-owned media outlet published a screenshot of an email Peng purportedly sent to WTA. In it, she claimed the accusation wasn't true, that she wasn't missing, and that she was safe. The media later released photos of Peng smiling and posing with the cat.
What if LeBron James, a man, a very powerful, top-notch basketball player who does a lot of business in China, what if he filed claims of sexual harassment or sexual misconduct? And what if he suddenly went missing? I will guarantee you that the National Basketball Association, elected officials around our country, around the world, would be stepping up to say, where is LeBron James? And we wouldn't accept pictures of LeBron James sitting with a cat and at a little school with children just to say everything's okay. We need to hear from her directly and support her needs and her safety at this time.
China's foreign ministry had, until recently, continually maintained it was not aware of Peng's situation. But after her disappearance sparked international outcry, the ministry changed its tune, saying the controversy was, quote, maliciously hyped up and should not be politicized.
It's not the first, but it's amongst the first in China, and from a very powerful woman who has a voice, has an international presence. When she speaks up and the world begins to listen and women around the world begin to demand answers, that's not politicizing.
The international community has since applied pressure on Beijing. Several women's tennis players commented on Twitter, demanding proof of Peng's safety and an investigation into her allegation. U.S. President Biden also asked for verifiable proof of Peng's well-being last week, while the Women's Tennis Association says it's willing to pull out of China if Peng's case isn't investigated.
As long as her voice isn't being heard, as long as her claim of Me Too and sexual assault is not respected, then we should not be spending $1 supporting governmental officials who appear to be trying to cover this up.
Peng reappeared in public over the weekend, but so far, Chinese authorities have censored Peng's allegations and her online presence. Many says the concerns aren't going away.
And the European Union is joining the efforts backing Peng Shuai. The bloc told the South China Morning Post that the EU asks China for independent and verifiable proof of Peng's well-being and whereabouts. The spokeswoman said the videos and photographs of Peng from the weekend cannot allay their worries about the tennis star. There are almost 30 countries in the European Union. And the migrant influx at the Poland-Belarus border had help from private companies. And the head of the European Commission said those companies will soon face sanctions. NTD's David Vivas spoke with a security think tank founder who says that the surge can be traced back to criminal organizations with the help of the Belarusian regime.
The European Union will impose sanctions on Belarusian state-owned airline Belavia and other travel firms involved in migrant trafficking. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made the announcement on Wednesday. The sanctions package will need to be approved by member states in the coming days. This as around 10,000 migrants are still waiting at Belarus border with Poland to get into European countries. The migrant influx has been widely denounced as a form of political blackmail executed by Belarus. According to security think tank founder Emmanuel Dupuy, the lack of strong response from the EU is partly to blame for the crisis.
It's about the issue of the European Union to be tackling the question of migration in its all, not only when it comes to the bilateral question between Poland and Belarus.
Von der Leyen is accusing the Belarusian regime, led by Alexander Lukashenko, for facilitating the migrant wave. She says funneling Middle Eastern migrants toward Poland is an hybrid attack against the EU. Dupuy says migrant funneling is done with the mafia or groups acting in cooperation with the Belarusian government.
The smuggling business, and this is a report which was assessed by Interpol, we mentioned the fact that the smugglers gain per year more than $4 billion. So therefore, of course, when it comes to artificial migration, there are tools in a toolbox for some leaders.
He says the Turkish president, who openly threatened the European Union in 2016, led a migration flood into Europe. He later made a deal with the bloc to stop the surge of migrants.
It has been successful for Turkey, as Turkey has obtained 6 billion euros for the period of 2016-2026. Let's remember the situation. President Erdogan said, if you do not give me the money, I will let the migrants cross. And he did this 2 years ago.
As temperatures are getting colder at the Poland-Belarus border, there's likely to be a solution soon in order to avoid a humanitarian crisis. 13 migrants have already been reported dead by humanitarian agencies because of harsh conditions. David Vives, NTD News.
And also in Europe, Slovakia is heading into a full lockdown. The government approved a 2-week national lockdown today amid a surge of virus infections.
The country's prime minister said the measures will take effect on Friday and target both unvaccinated and vaccinated.
It may take 90 days. You can understand it as you wish. 2 weeks of lockdown is the minimum. We're going to reconsider it after 10 days.
Under the lockdown, people can leave their homes only for specific reasons. These include buying essential goods, traveling to work and school, and getting vaccinated. The unvaccinated will be required to get tested to go to work, unless they have recovered from COVID-19. Wednesday's announcement came after Slovakia set a new record for daily infections, but the country is also testing almost twice as much every day as they did around the same time last year.
A spacecraft designed to crash was launched last night on a NASA mission to demonstrate the world's first planetary defense system. Scientists sent out the craft to crash into an asteroid's moon, deflecting the moon from its orbit. This technology may one day be needed to stop a doomsday collision with Earth. We've got more from NTD's Lily Joe.
NASA has launched humanity's first asteroid deflection test mission. It's called the DART, or Double Asteroid Redirection Test. And it's hoped it might one day save Earth from incoming space rocks.
And this is the first time in history we can do something about it. We can learn how to both find those bodies and also hopefully to deflect them and kind of take them away from the danger zone of Earth.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mission.
The DART blasted off from a California Space Force base Tuesday night local time. Its mission is to crash into an asteroid's moon, change its orbit period, and affect the timing of the moon moving around the asteroid.
We will see that by just changing that orbit, by measuring that orbit change, we will be able to derive really the most important quantity, which is how much of our momentum got imparted onto that small body, which of course in a danger situation is the most important question. You know, how much does it take to bump a rock out of the way given its size and speed?
NASA shared some good news earlier this year when it gave Earth the all-clear from menacing asteroids for the next century. But scientists believe only a third of such threats can be observed. When the DART spacecraft arrives in autumn next year, it will use autonomous navigation software to deliberately crash into the asteroid's moonlet at a speed of about 4 miles per second. Scientists hope the impact will change the speed of the moonlet's orbit around its main body by just a fraction of a percent, enough to alter its orbital period by several minutes. Lily Joe, NTD News.
New guidance from the UK's healthcare system asks doctors not to use antidepressants as their first choice for mild depression. It suggests they prioritize offering treatments such as meditation or behavioral therapy in consultation with the patient. The use of antidepressants has been steadily increasing in recent years, especially during the pandemic. Here's NTD's Joy Dogood with the details.
According to new NHS guidance, people suffering mild depression should be offered a choice of counselling sessions or group classes in things such as meditation, exercise, or behavioural therapy instead of antidepressants. The draft guidance from the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence says doctors shouldn't routinely offer antidepressant medication as first-line treatment for less severe depression, unless that is the person's preference. It calls on doctors to involve patients in conversations about what would suit them best, but says they should prioritise psychological treatments and behavioural therapy. Experts said the new draft guideline, which is subject to consultation, is the first in 12 years to identify, treat and manage depression in adults. The guideline also says medics should explain to a patient that if they want to stop taking antidepressants, the withdrawal may take weeks or months. The use of antidepressants in the UK has been steadily increasing since 2015. Figures from the NHS show that more than 20 million antidepressants were prescribed between October and December 2020, a 6% increase compared with the same 3 months in 2019. Joy Dogood, NTD News.
Coming up, the new Marvel Studios television series Hawkeye is set to premiere on Disney+. A new character features in the franchise's latest production. And scientists discover a mammoth tusk at the bottom of the ocean off California's coast. That and more when we return.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. Before all this started, I had already written in my memoir, I dedicate this book to anyone that's looking for hope. Well, right now, we're all looking for hope. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible. To thank you all for your support, I'm offering some of my best prices ever on MyPillow products, including this exclusive bundle. You get my book and these 5 MyPillows. They all have beautiful scenes and verses from the Bible, such as Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. This 6-pack bundle is regularly $219. Now it's just $99.98 and free shipping with your promo code. Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below. Thank you and God bless.
The new Marvel Studios television series Hawkeye is set to premiere on Disney Plus today. And a new comic book character will star in the franchise's latest production. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
It's the most wonderful time.
The latest Marvel Studios television series Hawkeye initially appears to be about the further adventures of Clint Barton from the Avengers franchise, played by Jeremy Renner.
More complicated.
But it could be argued it's about new character Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld.
You're Hawkeye!
Since her first appearance, Bishop has become an extremely popular character with fans.
It was awesome finding who she was and what her voice sounded like and what she looked like, how she dressed and everything down to the hair and makeup. It was a real collaboration figuring out who she was and pulling elements from the comics was definitely something that we wanted to do.
I think the focus for me for this particular one is let's make sure we land Kate Bishop first because I mean, the MCU has so many heroes, right? So many moving parts.
Are you one of those people?
The series is set in the run-up to Christmas as Barton wants to get back to his family. But because of Bishop, he gets stuck in New York, where he runs into old enemies.
I mean, and we made this, around this time last year, so we were, I was personally getting into the Christmas spirit myself, and it was fun to go to work every day and be in this beautiful festive Christmas setting.
Even in May, when we're still shooting.
Yeah, that's true.
Bishop is prominent in the comic books, and Steinfeld is expected to become a big player in the Marvel franchise. But for now, she's sworn to secrecy.
It's it's challenging. I am so happy that at this moment I can at least talk about the fact that I'm in the show. That is confirmed, and that it's coming out, and we had a great time. Everything beyond that, I still have to hold myself back.
The first 2 episodes of Hawkeye will stream on Disney Plus today, November 24th.
Holy there are arrows more dangerous than that one?
Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
It's just some Christmas.
At the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, scientists have found evidence of ancient land dwellers. Researchers with Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute say they discovered a Colombian mammoth tusk in the deep waters off California's coast. Scientists estimate the tusk is more than 100,000 years old. It's over 3 feet long and was found 185 miles offshore and 10,000 feet underwater. The researchers note mammoth remains from continental North America are particularly rare. They plan to use the tusk's DNA to refine what we know about mammoths in that part of the world. And that's all for tonight's news. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Cox.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.